leadership dispute in Osun State's local governments escalated into violence on Monday, resulting in multiple deaths and injuries. The crisis erupted when sacked All Progressives Congress APC local government chairmen attempted to resume duties at their respective secretariats, sparking bloody clashes with the People's Democratic Party (PDP) supporters. Among the casualties was Remi Abass, the former chairman of Irewole Local Government Area. And in response to the violence, Governor Ademola Adeleke has ordered the immediate closure of all local government secretariats to maintain law and order. Now, here's what you should know about this dispute.
Federal High Court nullified the October 2022 local government elections in Osun State, citing violations of the Constitution and breaches of the Electoral Act 2022. Governor Ademola Adeleke of the People's Democratic Party assumed office and upheld the court's nullification of the local government elections, leading to the removal of the previously elected All Progressive Congress officials. In February 2025, an appellate court issued a judgment that the APC interpreted as a mandate to reinstate their previously sacked local government chairmen and councillors. Acting on this interpretation, these officials attempted to resume duties on February the 17th, 2025, leading to violent clashes and multiple fatalities. Now, joining us this morning on Breakfast Central to make sense and to unravel this controversy in the ongoing leadership issues in Osun State is legal practitioner Festus Ogun. Thank you very much for joining us, Festus. Good morning to you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to you.
Now, Festus, the Court of Appeal has given a judgment, and you have lawyers on both sides interpreting it the way they deemed fit. So what is the proper legal position on this, and why are APC and PDP interpreting this judgment differently?
It is a sad narrative that we are even having this conversation.
A very sad one, because lives have been lost.
It's sad that we're having this conversation because the position is very clear. How do I mean? Sometime in 2022, the Federal High Court, in a lawsuit filed by PDP against the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, ruled that the proposed election should not be held because it was going to be held in violation of the Electoral Act. That judgment was appealed by the APC, who at that time was a party to the suit. Now, similarly, APP, another political party, filed another lawsuit about the time the election was to be conducted, challenging the conduct of the election essentially. That very judgment equally sacked all officials elected by the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, same in 2022. Now, the APC challenged the PDP judgment. The APC equally challenged the APP judgment. But while sometime in February, early this month, the Court of Appeal sitting in Akure said that, look, the trial court, that's the Federal High Court, should not have assumed jurisdiction to entertain that case in the first place. So, that PDP case in the first place, because it was premature, it was speculative, there was no, the issue has not arisen when PDP went to court. On that basis,
they had not conducted the elections that time.
At that time, the election has not been conducted. On that basis, the court said, no, look, the court of law is a court of fact. You don't come here to speculate. So as at the time that matter was filed, the court should not have assumed jurisdiction. On that basis, the court struck out the suit and allowed the appeal by the APC. The court said, no, you shouldn't have. The Federal High Court in Osogbo should not have entertained the PDP's case. So on that basis, the court struck out the suit and, allowed the appeal of the APC. Now, you would recall that in the judgment, which I have carefully read over and over again, there is no order that says, oh, you should reinstate the chairman. Yes. There is no specific order. as if that was not enough, you would also recall from how I started
there's
that there's an
APP
case. That APP case, the APC appealed against it, but the APC did not follow through. That for 23 months, they abandoned that appeal. And the lawyer to APP, the lawyer to OSEC, now ironically, the lawyer to Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, whom the judgment was given against at the trial court, at the Federal High Court, said, Court of Appeal, these people have not compiled record. They brought us to court. Can you please dismiss this suit? And the Court of Appeal agreed with them and dismissed the appeal that was filed by the APC. The implication of which is that judgment that nullified the election of the local government officials is unshaken and still legally binding. What is the implication of that? The implication is simply that as of today, the judgment that was obtained by APP that nullified the election of the local government officials, the councillors and the local government chairmen, remains valid. And because the position of the law is that judgment of court has to be obeyed. You don't have a choice, you don't have a discretion. The judgment is there. Those that are occupying, the nullification of the election has to be obeyed as it stands.
So there's no basis for PDP
absolutely
councillors and local government chairmen to try to resume office? Because
look, we are a country operating by laws. If a judgment says, the Federal High Court should not have assumed jurisdiction, ordinarily, that judgment did not say that, I have reinstated. There is no consequential order clearly stating that, you have to be reinstated. What you should have done, assuming there is even an order stating that, the local government chairman has to be reinstated since the lower court lacks jurisdiction, what you should have done is to enforce judgment. Under our jurisprudence, there is a process, there is a procedure for enforcing judgment. The question is that, why was that judgment not enforced in the legal and proper way? You cannot resort to self-help in enforcing judgments. But I am equally not surprised that the judgments, they are not attempting to enforce it in the procedural manner. Because there is nothing to be enforced. Because the court said there is no jurisdiction. So what do you want to enforce? There is nothing to enforce. In any case, I've said it that assuming there was even something to enforce, you don't go there to start causing breakdown of law and order. Because when there is a succeeding judgment, valid judgment delivered in November 2022 in that APP's case, you cannot go to this local government secretariat and asking them to leave forcefully. You don't forcefully take over control of governmental machinery. There are procedures for the enforcement of a judgment. That is, if at all, if that judgment even says, you should be reinstated. But whether the judgment says you should be reinstated or not is even not the issue. The major issue is that there is a valid judgment which you have failed, because you have the opportunity, you have the right of appeal, which you have failed to, properly challenge. You started it, you didn't compile and transmit record for over 23 months. Now, that appeal was dismissed. That even puts them in a bigger danger, because once an appeal is dismissed, what do? The best thing you can do is to appeal to the Supreme Court, because that appeal has been dismissed as of today. Right. So my concern is that I believe that we are running a country of laws. So one cannot afford to resort to self-help. That is, taking gangsterism too far.
Unfortunately, that's the reality of what we have seen. We've seen that they resorted to self-help to try to implement an order, like you said, that doesn't exist. But what should have been a better course of action for the aggrieved members of the All Progressives Congress who feel like, they should have been the ones in power? What should have been a better legal step to take? As in, with the facts that we have here, that, yes, okay, the APC, the initial one with the APC had been, struck out, I believe.
Absolutely.
And then the one with the APP, they failed to follow up. on the appeal, right? And then it had been struck out. So what should have been dismissed? Sorry.
Yes.
So what should have been the rightful legal course of action that the PDP should have taken?
The APC.
The APC. Sorry. Yes.
You see, in my modest opinion, I have posited that they have two options, or let me say three options. The first is to explore resuscitating that appeal. I believe it is still legally possible because that appeal was not dismissed on the merits. It was dismissed because they failed to diligently prosecute it.
Yes.
I wouldn't call it technical because they failed to diligently prosecute it. You brought me to court.
And you forgot.
For 23 months, you didn't do what you should do. You didn't transmit and compile records with which the Court of Appeal would even assume jurisdiction to even, determine the matter. I'm not wondering if you could do it if you could compile and transmit record for the PDP's case, why didn't you compile and transmit record for the APP's case? Could it be on the false assumption or the erroneous assumption that, maybe the judgment in PDP has more weight than the judgment in APP?
So that's a flaw on the part of the lawyers.
I believe, I'm not casting aspersion on the professional competence of the lawyers, but I believe that maybe it's a strategy for them. I wouldn't know, but abandoning that...
Or maybe they thought the APP was a small party.
To our question, I mean, that's also what I feel. But to our question again, I feel that they could make attempt to resuscitate it. The rule of the Court of Appeal says after the judgment, the ruling dismissing the appeal or striking out the appeal is made, you shall bring an application to relist it within 7 days. So who knows when the judgment the ruling was delivered in January in respect of the APP's case, who knows whether they would have taken steps to resuscitate it. Or if they feel aggrieved by the dismissal, they have a right to appeal to the Supreme Court. It's a constitutional right. Not just that, I am aware also that there is an election coming in.
Oh yes, that brings me to this question. Wouldn't that further complicate things with these judgments? The Osun State Independent Electoral Commission is planning to hold local government elections this weekend, and you still have this case of the 2022 elections. People are still fighting and bickering over it. Would it not further complicate things in Osun State?
I do not believe there will be any complication, and I will tell you why. Ordinarily, by dint of the decision of the Supreme Court last year, in the case of AGF and Abia State and others, where the Supreme Court made it abundantly clear that there must be, for you to receive federal allocation now, there must be a democratically elected local government council. So it is now a matter of imperative legal obligation, constitutional obligation for Osun State to have democratically elected local government officials for the local government to run smoothly. So, as it stands, they stand nullified by date of the APP judgment. What I feel also, even it ought to have been done before now, there ought to have been a local government election. Because as it stands, there are no validly elected local government council members. So why should another election not be conducted? Especially when the appeal with which they could have resuscitated, the position had been dismissed. Should the entire people of Osun State wait?
But the tension, the palpable tension in the polity, the heated political atmosphere, would this be the right time in overriding public interest?
I would say that the whole tension is manageable and avoidable. The judgment of the APP is clear. It's very clear. The judgment of the APP is clear. That, look, these people stand, dissolved.
Let's go back to that tension that Benga just spoke about. Unfortunately, this is not just a tension of two different parties quarreling. Lives were lost.
Or intellectual.
It's not intellectual. It wasn't just an intellectual debate. It was a violent tension.
Absolutely.
Lives were lost. Lives of Nigerian citizens were lost.
Absolutely.
What legal steps should be taken to ensure that the lives of these persons that were lost was, these lives were not just lost in vain.
I'm even surprised. Maybe I should speak from the level of knowledge that I have as of now. Those people behind this mayhem in Osun State, who wants to forcefully take law into their hands, I believe they should be prosecuted by now. I believe so because we are running a constitutional democracy where the act of government must be in line with the dictates of law. I believe that those people causing the tension, they are not ghosts, they are humans. Was it not sometime last week that a meeting was held where, some political heavyweights in the state were insisting that, oh, you have to go there to take over? No, that is the cause of the tension. If an appeal has been made, a judgment has been made against you, you feel you want to enforce the judgment, there are procedures to enforce judgment. In any case, there is a judgment, valid judgment still saying you cannot go
exactly, that you're not the legal.
So if that is the case, when we are talking about violence, I think the violence is not an organic one. It is one that is actuated by political elements.
Okay, I had asked our guests this question yesterday, and I'm going to ask you now because of the angle this conversation is going to.
Yes.
We don't have any clear evidence to say who exactly has incited this violence. Whilst there can be inference.
I'm not, with due respect, not going to agree with you.
Tell me, who do you think is behind the violence?
I would say with all sense of sincerity that as it stands, the violence would not have happened in the first place if the beneficiaries of the appeal judgment in the PDP's case have not been confrontational. There wouldn't have been violence. I have never heard, even when people lose election at the election tribunal, you've lost an election, a sitting governor has lost an election. You don't go and forcefully take power.
So what I'm saying is
you follow the due process of law. See, sometime in 2023, we represented someone at the election tribunal who won at the tribunal. He won at the tribunal, at the Court of Appeal, the dynamic changed. He was sacked at the Court of Appeal. He started running helter-skelter. I said, no, you have to leave the office because from the Court of Appeal, you can no longer go to anywhere. The person that won at the Court of Appeal did not engage in combat because they are procedure. And when it was time, he left office and that one.
Okay,
that is how it should be.
So still going back to that.
Yes.
I mean, you said that this violence would not have happened if there wasn't a pushback from those who felt like the elections did not favor them. But I believe that you're in this case referring to the former governor of Osun State. And if it's possible, I mean, I'm not holding brief for him, but it is possible that he, of course, did not believe in the outcome of the elections, but that he may have followers or fans that are overzealous. We've seen in cases where certain things happen, where people try to maybe distance themselves from it. So if he comes out today to condemn the violence and say that, no life should be lost, will that count for something?
I'm not a politician, and I don't want to hold brief for anybody. But in all sincerity, we are aware that a meeting was held in Osun State where the Minister for Marine and Blue Economy, and in a meeting he held with the sacked local government executives, he assured them that they will get back their mandates. He assured them that there is a cooperation of security agencies. I read it in the news, so I mean, credible news platform.
Yes.
Where he held the meeting and told them that he has a cooperation of security agencies to ensure that they return back to office. That was when the violence. That was when the politics.
And there was a preemptive state address by the governor that tomorrow this person is trying to foment.
I mean, some set of persons.
But finally, in 30 seconds, before we go, just in 30 seconds, looking at the way we practice our democracy in Nigeria, the state independent electoral commissions are meant to conduct elections, local government elections in the states. INEC's constitutional responsibility is to conduct elections and announce results. Why are courts inundated with electoral cases? Is it that we can't run a civilized democracy? Why do we have to go to the courts for any little thing?
You see, a lot of people are not aware yet.
If you can, in 30 seconds.
A lot of people are not aware yet that the Electoral Act 2022 made an innovation, which states that for every election conducted by the state local government, the state electoral body, it must conform with the provisions of the electoral act that relates to the conduct of election at the Federal Capital Territory. So therefore, there is a new jurisprudence which has necessitated our people to approach court so that the state electoral commissions will not act as if they are above the law. So
we have a few more days. I mean, Saturday 22nd is the elections. We'll see how things turn out.
I believe all parties should participate in the election in the interest of our democracy.
Interesting. Festus Ogun, thank you for talking to us about Osun.
Thank you.
Maybe when we're having Ogun conversations again, we'll bring you in.
Thank you for having me, Festus.
We'll be going on a quick break now. When we come back, we have other conversations with you this morning. Stay with us.